One day you realize your teenager stopped telling you things. 1. Correcting them the moment. They open up, your teenager finally starts talking. Maybe it's late at night. Maybe it's in the car. They share something messy, emotional, or half-formed. And without meaning to, you jump in. You correct details. You explain why they're wrong. You offer advice before they finish the sentence. In your mind, you're helping. In their mind, something quietly shuts down. Teenagers are still learning how to name their emotions. As Daniel Siegel explains, the thinking brain develops much later than the emotional brain. When parents rush to fix or correct, teens feel evaluated instead of understood. The brain reads that as danger, not support. Over time, they learn. Talking equals being judged. A small shift helps. Try saying nothing at first. Just reflect back what you hear. That sounds really frustrating. Trust grows when they feel heard before they feel guided. 2. Using their vulnerability. Later in an argument. Your teen once admitted something sensitive. Maybe a fear. Maybe a mistake. Maybe a secret they trusted you with. Weeks later, during a heated argument, it slips out of your mouth. Not as an attack, just as proof. Just to make a point. But for them, it feels like betrayal. According to John Gottman's work on emotional safety, trust breaks fastest when vulnerability is used as ammunition. The teenage brain is especially sensitive to social pain. When a parent brings up old confessions during conflict, the brain stores it as, "It's not safe to open up here." After that, they become careful, filtered, quiet. The repair matters more than perfection. If this happens, name it. Apologize without defending yourself. Say, "I shouldn't have used that. You trusted me." That moment of repair can rebuild more trust than never messing up at all. 3. Minimizing their problems. Because they seem small, your teenager is upset about something that feels trivial to you. A friend didn't reply. A teacher made a comment. A plan fell apart. You respond with perspective. "This won't matter in a year. You're overreacting. You have it so much better than I did." You mean to comfort them. Instead, they feel dismissed. As Adele Faber and Elaine Maislish suggest, minimizing emotions teaches kids to doubt their own inner experience. Teenagers already question themselves constantly. When their feelings are brushed aside, they learn to keep them private. The issue isn't the problem, it's the feeling. A simple change helps. Validate before you reframe. "I can see why that hurt." Once emotions settle, perspective lands better. Trust grows when teens feel their inner world is taken seriously, even when you know it won't last forever. 4. Turning every conversation into a lesson. Your teenager tells you something that happened at school. Before they finish, you're already teaching. There's a moral, a warning, a better way they should have handled it. You turn everyday conversation into a mini lecture without even realizing it. From your side, this feels like parenting. From their side, it feels exhausting. Teenagers are constantly evaluated by teachers, peers, social media, and themselves. When every interaction with a parent becomes a lesson, the brain associates talking with pressure. Ross Greene reminds us that kids do well if they can. When they're talking, they're not asking for a lecture. They're asking for connection. Over time, teens stop sharing casually. They save conversations for when they really have to talk. Try replacing teaching with curiosity. Ask one gentle question instead of offering advice. Conversations that feel safe don't need to be productive to be powerful. 5. Reacting with shock. Instead of calm, your teen finally tells you something big. Maybe about partying, relationships, or a mistake they regret. Your face changes instantly. Your voice rises. You gasp. You say, "I can't believe this." Even if you don't yell, the reaction lands hard. The teenage brain is wired to scan for emotional safety. When a parent reacts with shock, the nervous system reads danger. Daniel Siegel explains that intense adult reactions push teens into defense mode, not reflection. In that moment, honesty feels risky. They learn quickly. Telling the truth leads to emotional explosions. A small pause can change everything. Take a breath before responding. You can say, "I'm glad you told me. I need a second to think." Calm reactions today make honesty more likely tomorrow. 6. Demanding respect without showing it. First, you ask your teen to speak politely. to watch their tone, to be respectful. But when you're stressed, tired, or angry, your voice sharpens. You interrupt, you dismiss, you talk over them. To you, it's authority. To them, it feels unfair. Respect is learned through modeling, not demands. John Gottman's work shows that emotional coaching, listening, naming feelings, staying regulated, builds mutual respect. Teens are especially sensitive to hypocrisy. When respect feels one-sided, trust erodes. They stop trying to explain themselves. They brace instead. One small shift matters. Speak to them the way you want them to speak to you, especially during conflict. Respect shown consistently becomes respect returned. 7. Checking their phone without talking about it. You feel uneasy. Something seems off. So you check their phone. Messages, photos, notes. You tell yourself it's about safety. And sometimes it is. But when teens find out, and they usually do, something breaks. Privacy is deeply tied to identity during adolescence. When parents secretly monitor, teens don't think they care. They think, I'm not trusted. According to attachment research, trust grows when boundaries are clear and explained, not hidden. After that, teens don't become more open. They become more careful. If monitoring is necessary, talk about it openly. Explain why. Invite conversation. Trust survives limits when teens feel respected, not surveilled. 8. Asking questions that feel like interrogation. You notice your teenager is quieter than usual, so you start asking questions, one after another. What happened? Who was there? Why didn't you tell me? Are you hiding something? You're worried. You care. But to them, it feels like a cross-examination. When teens feel questioned instead of invited, their brain moves into protection mode. As Ross Green explains, when kids sense pressure, their ability to think clearly drops. They stop sharing details, not because they're hiding something bad, but because the emotional cost feels too high. Eventually, they learn to give short answers, or no answers at all. A small shift helps. Instead of many questions, offer one open door. I'm here if you want to talk. Curiosity without urgency feels safer. Trust grows when conversation is an option, not a demand. 9. Comparing them to other teens or to yourself. You say things like, your sister never acted like this, or, when I was your age, I handled things better. You think you're offering perspective or motivation. What they hear is, I'm not enough. Teenagers are in a fragile stage of identity building. Carol Dweck's work on mindset shows that constant comparison fuels shame, not growth. Instead of learning, teens focus on protecting their self-worth. Sharing honestly becomes risky when they expect comparison instead of understanding, so they stop opening up about struggles. Try anchoring conversations in who they are, not who someone else was. Say, I see this is hard for you. Feeling accepted as they are makes trust possible. 10. Talking about them instead of with them. You discuss their behavior with other adults, sometimes right in front of them, sometimes behind closed doors thinking they won't notice. But they do. Teens are extremely sensitive to social status and respect. Being talked about, especially in a negative way, creates deep embarrassment. John Gottman emphasizes that feeling respected is central to emotional safety. When teens feel exposed, they pull inward. They stop sharing personal things because they don't control where the story goes. A simple rule helps. If it's their story, ask permission before sharing it, or talk with them first. Trust grows when teens feel ownership over their own narrative. 11. Expecting immediate honesty during conflict. You're in the middle of an argument. Emotions are high. You demand the truth right now. You say, just tell me what's going on. But their nervous system is already flooded. Daniel Siegel explains that when emotions spike, the thinking brain goes offline. Teens literally cannot access clear reflection in heated moments. When parents push for honesty during conflict, teens either shut down or say whatever ends the conversation fastest. Later, they may avoid talking altogether to prevent conflict. The shift is timing. Pause the argument. Revisit the conversation when everyone is calmer. Trust grows when teens learn that honesty is safest after emotions settle, not during emotional storms. 12. Punishing honesty. When you don't like the truth, Your teenager finally tells the truth. Maybe they broke a rule. Maybe they lied earlier. Maybe they made a choice you strongly disagree with. You feel relieved and angry. So consequences come fast and hard. From your perspective, you're teaching responsibility. From theirs, they learn a dangerous lesson. Ross Greene reminds us that behavior is communication. When honesty leads to punishment without conversation, the brain connects truth with pain. Teens don't learn to be more honest. They learn to hide mistakes better. Next time, they pause before telling you anything real. The shift isn't removing boundaries. It's separating honesty from punishment. Thank them for telling the truth first. Breathe. Then, talk about consequences calmly. Teens trust adults who can handle the truth without exploding. 13. Assuming silence means everything is fine. Your teenager stays in their room more, talks less. You tell yourself it's normal. You're relieved there's no drama. But silence isn't always peace. Adolescents often withdraw when emotions feel confusing or unsafe to share. Daniel Siegel explains that teens still rely on adults for emotional regulation, even when they appear independent. When parents assume quiet means okay, teens learn their inner world goes unnoticed. They stop expecting support. A gentle check-in matters, not an interrogation, just presence, sitting nearby, saying, "I'm around if you need me." Trust grows when teens know they don't have to be loud to be seen. 14. Breaking confidence. With "it's just between us." Your teen tells you something and asks you not to tell anyone. Later, you share it with another adult, a partner, a friend, a teacher, because you're worried or need advice. You don't think it counts. But to them, it does. Confidentiality is central to trust. John Gottman's research shows that emotional safety depends on predictability. When teens can't predict where their words will go, they stop sharing sensitive things. They feel exposed, even if your intentions were loving. If you must share, be transparent. Tell them first, explain why, invite them into the decision. Trust survives hard moments when teens feel respected in the process. 15. Treating emotional struggles as attitude problems. Your teen is irritable, short-tempered, withdrawn. You label it as attitude, disrespect, laziness. You push harder, but underneath, there may be overwhelm. Adolescence brings massive emotional and neurological changes. As Siegel and Bryson explain, teens feel more intensely than adults, but have fewer tools to manage it. When parents respond with discipline instead of curiosity, teens feel misunderstood. They stop trying to explain themselves. A small shift helps. Ask what's making things harder lately instead of correcting behavior first. When teens feel seen beneath the attitude, trust has room to grow again. 16. Mocking or teasing things that matter to them. You joke about their music, their clothes, the way they talk, or the people they like. You think it's harmless, maybe even bonding. But teenagers are still forming their identity. What looks like teasing to you can feel like rejection to them. Carol Dweck's work shows that identity is fragile during growth phases. When parents mock what teens care about, the brain reads it as, "This part of me isn't safe here." After that, teens stop sharing their inner world. They keep passions private, feelings too. The shift is simple but powerful. Take their interests seriously, even if you don't understand them. Respect builds trust faster than agreement ever could. 17. Making love feel conditional on behavior. When things are calm, you're warm. When rules are broken, you withdraw. Less eye contact, short answers, emotional distance. You don't say love is conditional, but it feels that way. Attachment research shows that teens still need emotional connection to regulate themselves. When affection disappears during conflict, teens learn they must perform well to stay connected. So they hide mistakes. They hide emotions. They hide parts of themselves. A small change matters. Stay emotionally present even when setting boundaries. You can be firm without being cold. Trust grows when love feels steady, not earned. 18. Expecting them to open up on your timeline. You finally have time. You're ready to talk. You ask them to open up now. They say they're tired, or shrug, or say later. You feel rejected. Teenagers process emotions slowly and privately. Daniel Siegel explains that reflection often happens after space, not on demand. When parents push for conversation on their schedule, teens feel controlled. So they resist. Let them choose the moment when possible. Late nights, car rides, quiet moments. Trust grows when conversations feel invited, not scheduled. 19. Focusing more on behavior than the relationship. You track grades, chores, screens, curfews. You correct, you remind, you enforce. But the relationship slowly fades into the background. Ross Greene emphasizes that skills grow inside safe relationships. When teens feel managed more than known, they disconnect emotionally. They comply on the surface, or rebel, but trust weakens either way. They stop sharing the why behind their behavior. A simple rebalance helps. Spend time with no agenda, no correction, just presence. Connection isn't a reward, it's the foundation. 20. Avoiding repair. After you mess up, you snap. You say something hurtful, you overreact. Later, you move on. You assume they did too. But unresolved moments stay stored in the nervous system. John Gottman's research shows that repair is more important than perfection. When parents don't acknowledge mistakes, teens learn that power matters more than honesty. So they stop expecting accountability from you and stop offering it themselves. One sentence can change everything. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Trust deepens when teens see adults own their mistakes without excuses. 21. Expecting adult logic from a teen brain. You explain things clearly, calmly, logically. And when your teenager still reacts emotionally, you feel frustrated. You think, we already talked about this. But their brain is still under construction. The emotional center of the brain develops faster than the reasoning center. Daniel Siegel explains that teens can understand logic one moment and be overwhelmed by emotion the next. When parents expect adult-level self-control, teens feel like failures. So they stop explaining themselves. They assume you won't understand anyway. The shift is compassion. Lower expectations during emotional moments. Save logic for later. Trust grows when teens feel accepted where they are, not where you wish they were. 22. Forgetting that trust is built in ordinary moments. You think trust is built during big talks, serious conversations, important lessons. But most trust is built quietly. It's built when you listen without fixing, when you remember details, when you don't rush them, when you laugh together, when you respect their boundaries on an average Tuesday. John Gottman's work shows that emotional deposits matter more than dramatic moments. Teens decide whether to trust you based on everyday interactions, not speeches. When those moments disappear, trust slowly drains. The shift is presence. Be available without an agenda. The ordinary moments are doing more work than you realize. 23. Forgetting that trust is a relationship, not a role. At some point, parenting turns into managing, enforcing, correcting, directing, and the relationship quietly gets lost. Teens don't stop needing parents. They stop needing controllers. Ross Greene reminds us that kids want to do well when they feel supported. Trust grows when teens feel like partners in a relationship, not projects to be fixed. When parents soften into connection, teens soften too. The most powerful shift is this: move from power over to connection with. Trust doesn't come from authority. It comes from feeling safe enough to be real. If your teenager is pulled away, it doesn't mean you failed. It means the relationship is asking for something different now.